All right, ladies and gentlemen, let's go ahead and get barreling down the runway, pull back on the stick, and get airborne for Accelerated Retirement Brief, 1 o'clock Eastern here, with a lot going on in the market and obviously around the world. And I just completely have a absolute different view than what the market is presenting us. So we're going to have a spirited debate about it and talk about potential next steps. Folks, make sure you are following the Top Gun Options Facebook page. I mean, throughout the day, even, I'm on a treadmill or working out, I'm posting stuff throughout the day on this site. This is where you can get the most up-to-date information, articles, anything that I'm posting gets posted on our Facebook page. Great articles throughout the day, all the intelligence I'm seeing. As soon as I get something, it goes up on the Facebook page. So can't stay in the company for now. Got to wait for Trump to leave office and start his own Facebook type of site, and then we'll move over to there. But you have to sometimes dance with the devil you don't like. Speaking of Trump, still not happy at all with the way the Pentagon or the President of the United States has handled this. Pentagon raises the number of U.S. troops injured in Iranian attack to 50. You guys heard me rip the president apart last week when he just sounded like a complete tool with the whole, a couple of people with headaches and, no, I don't think these are serious at all. I've seen people without arms and legs. The man clearly, just everybody cringed with anybody with a brain. The VFW, the largest veterans organization in the United States, demanded an apology, and I don't think he did, because it's very hard to get an apology out of that man or to admit he's wrong. So to all if you're a Super Bowl party and you hear the whole, they missed on purpose, folks, we nailed all of the reporting in this. They didn't miss on purpose. We had F-35s knock down a lot of the missiles. These missiles were jammed. And the only reason that doesn't say 50 dead is because we knew it was coming. And no, they didn't warn us. I loved watching coverage on stupid people channels, CNN, MSNBC, or the main networks about them missing on purpose, or we had a heads up, meaning like the Iranians told us, like, well, hey guys, we need to fire back, so it's coming. What? Do you think the United States military lets their personnel sit at the end of, lethal weapons just because to prove a point? Okay, well, you guys need to save face, so we'll take a couple rockets. Come on, man. This is on the back burner. It's end of days over in China and around the rest of the world as this thing spreads geometrically, or it's just this pisses me off. I know people with it's awful, folks. Sometimes these symptoms take a long time. Have you ever been in a car accident? I remember being in a car accident. I was going to McGuire Air Force Base to see the Blue Angels with a buddy of mine in high school. We were in high school, and somebody blew through a red light, hit our car. We flipped a couple times and ended up on the roof and got out. And we're like, oh my God. The wrecker came. His mom picked us up. We're like, we still want to go to the air show. Went to the air show. A day and a half later, I woke up and I literally was paralyzed. Could not move. They had to call an ambulance. The doctor's like, oh yeah, something. We see these things, come days later, type of thing. It's awful. So I'm very pissed off at this. The president needs to clean this up. Yeah, exactly. Tamara, the same thing happened with her. It's a little bit of humility could do this guy some good every once in a while. And I'm not happy with Secretary of Defense Esper. This is not good. They didn't miss on purpose. They tried to kill as many Americans as possible. And I get that it's funny how Democrats go from one day the president's going to get us into World War III, and World War III is trending on Google and Twitter, and all the millennials are freaking out that they're going to be drafted, that he's going to get us all killed. And the next day he's like, he completely de-escalated it. Why am I rambling about this? Because Iran's still there. Iran didn't disappear. We set their nuke program back about 10, 20 years. And you guys know, I called it. As soon as the guy came to the microphone, as soon as Secretary of Defense, Chairman of the Joint Chiefs, all the heads of the services, including the Coast Guard, and Secretary of State came out, and the first sentence wasn't "Good afternoon, my fellow Americans." It was, "On my watch, Iran will never get a nuclear weapon. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen." And the reason he said that was because we bombed their nuclear program. Ken, you heard that here first. Folks, I got to tell you, This is absolute insanity. We diverted a flight with 201 Americans from China to March Air Force Base in California. Do you ever remember something like this happening in your lifetime? There weren't no windows on that thing, folks. Did everybody see the footage of the dudes and the ladies that met this plane? They were in full biohazard suits. We have 201 Americans being detained at an Air Force base. Dow's up 116. I have never seen a bear trap this bad in my life. We're going to laugh about Apple in a couple minutes here. I bought Apple puts and would be buying Apple puts. I would absolutely wait until you hear this rant. Ladies and gentlemen, the geometric progression suggests there will be 100,000 infections in a week. Doc, how about that, man? Well, thank God United stopped all flights to China. The British Airways stopped all flights to China. What is our government doing? Like, why do we have one flight landing in the United States from Asia? 2 days ago, 3 flights landed from carrying people from Wuhan in the United States, folks. What is our government doing? I ranted about this yesterday. I'm going to do it again. It's the government's job to not cause panic. You know how they cause panic? By lying. This isn't 25 years ago when Al Gore didn't invent the internet and things spread by word of mouth, so they had to keep. You can get this information. Folks, I'm on the British media every day because the U.S. media sucks. British media has videos smuggled out of Wuhan. People, wall-to-wall packed in hospitals, and dude just standing there drops to the floor. Or they got blankets over dead bodies. People walking down the street. But the government's telling us not to panic. That's how you incite panic, is a week or two from now you go, oh, yeah, this is a pandemic and we're all screwed. Panic now. An abundance of caution would be fantastic. Oh, I didn't know that, Gramps. So down in Australia, they're putting people on an island. Well, folks, this isn't made up. This is a flight full of Americans being quarantined on an Air Force base. And the Dow is up triple digits, like nothing is going on. It is a bear trap. But the market, hey, man, Jerome Powell's going to save us. Ain't no monetary vaccine that's going to keep this up. Asian stocks were down 3%. The Hang Seng, the Kospi, which is the South Korean stock exchange. In other news, U.S. equity futures ignored all the latest epidemic news, rose to 3-day highs, blah, 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 blah. What? So I'm going to lead with, if you don't know what's going on and you don't want to do anything, God bless you, don't do it. Rick, for 27 years of doing this, I've decided on the bear trap. I've heard both. People say, well, no, it's called a bull trap because the market's going up and it's bullish. Take your pick. What I'm saying is this is a trap. Now let's laugh about this. I bought Apple puts. Where are they? Oh, man. Oh, they're on the page. They are right there, folks. I'm buying 40 of about a month out, 300 puts. Tamara, I'm hearing rumors they're not going to open the Shanghai on Monday. They've extended the Lunar New Year break. I heard that they might not even be opening Asian markets to prevent a panic, which of course we know is going to create more of a panic. Folks, I am buying 40 of the Feb 20 300 Apple puts, and I'll tell you why in a second. I'm going out of order on my trade checklist. I'm giving you the tactic because I want to get in this now as this rally is starting to fade here. Apple, folks, why 300? Well, a couple reasons. Right here. 300. Look at the resistance. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 days of resistance. This was the last ledge. Had almost a drill bit down to 300. And Apple likes round numbers. This thing, ladies and gentlemen, I'm serious. Over a quarter of a century of doing this, how many times have I said that an earnings call is cut in half? An earnings call is a brief about that and a brief about that. The Apple earnings call, ladies and gentlemen, was 95% this. Whoa, hold on. And 5% that. 1/5 of every dollar that Apple makes is a result of the Chinese consumer. A fifth of your, imagine having a company of 5 people and one of your star employees is gone. And you're going to sit there and go, everything's fantastic. I saw a stat, I'm still trying to confirm it, over 50% of what Apple produces is produced in China. China, folks. The 5% of this conference call that they did, you know what they said? They said, well, we have kind of backup suppliers. Some of their major manufacturing centers, ladies and gentlemen, are in quarantined areas. Listen to me. Where they build a lot of their stuff is under quarantine. And my buddy who's knee deep in the CDC, still drinking buddies with a lot of his friends. Folks, listen to me. Quarantining 50 million people, that's Florida and Texas, actually can make a pandemic worse. Think about it. When you quarantine and you don't let people out or in type of thing, those 50 million you're screwed. My buddy's like, it's a catch-22. You don't quarantine, it spreads. You do quarantine, it spreads faster. Yeah, they're sitting ducks. Ladies and gentlemen, everything about Apple today was about how fantastic. Look at this. Stellar numbers. I do not quibble with that at all. You ready for this? And Apple's given a lot of this rally back. Based on that absolute blowout numbers, I think that Amazon's going to do the same thing. This is algos, folks. Algos, when they read and hear the conference call, go blowout buy. There ain't no humans involved in this. This should be higher right now. Apple should be up 10, 15% based on those numbers. It's not. I'm telling you, this is getting ready to implode. Everything in that Apple earnings call, folks, was about the past. This entire article I just scrolled through not once mentioned the future. Are they insane? Bob, of course they can keep producing, but they're not. They're shut down. The companies don't want people coming into work to spread the disease. That's exactly right, John. That's all the reporting I'm seeing is the guy on the conference call did a good job. The reporter, I mean, he's like, you make a fifth of every penny from China, and your supply chain, and factories are shut down. How can you be, we have backup supply chains. What the hell does that mean? You got backup supply chains. Vietnam? There's about 15 people there sick walking around. What do you mean backup? And that's the last thing you heard on that conference call about the future. I've never, in my history of investing, seen a conference call that was 95% backwards and 5% forward, and the 5% forward was a lie. Oh, Doc, do you? Well, there you go. There's firsthand intel. Oh boy. This is it's comical, ladies and gentlemen. So before we get into stuff, I'm going to tell you if first of all, if you don't agree with that, Wiz, it was blowout earnings, the wearables, and again, folks, this was all iPhone. this wasn't wearables, but everybody's hanging their hat on the wearable stuff growing. Great. If you disagree with me, then buy some Apple calls. Wiz, it probably is a $400 stock. Someday, it ain't now. So somebody asked me yesterday, I'm short term, now it's official, I am short term incredibly bearish. Long term, I'm bullish. Folks, I mean, unless this is the big one, we can't contain this thing, and it is a hell of a lot worse than we think. It's on the page, guys. The everything's posted. The CSX and Apple trades are on the web page right here. So short term bearish. Okay, we predicted this. I said a mid to late January sell off and a February insanity. And this article, folks, look at the headline. Strong earnings reports list stocks. Not one mention the fact that Apple gets everything from China, just about, that they make. Donald Trump said that. Hey, Tim Cook, why don't you bring those factories back here? Why aren't you bring it? It ain't. It's made in China, and there's 50 million people quarantined. And of course, my buddy's saying that's a lie. They have a hell of a lot more quarantine. The CDC guys, they're just not reporting it. Capitalist world is facing a systemic crisis. U.S. should repent over its foiled plot against Huawei. Wow. Time for some UN agencies to move out of the U.S. Tariff war may go beyond economic loss. Do any of these headlines on the Global Times, the mouthpiece of the Chinese newspaper, sound bullish at all? Or that they're going to bend over backwards to do their phase one trade deal agreement, whatever. The president signed the USMCA deal today. He's being impeached. So the market's hanging up here on more Fed sugar pills. We discussed yesterday. I don't think Jerome Powell's getting up and telling the market he turned into Uber hawk. He's going to be very accommodative. The last two times he cut interest rates, folks, things were fantastic. Things aren't fantastic now. I didn't even think about this. It just came into my brain. What if he announces a rate cut today? Holy crap. Well, then the market has a rip your face off rally. But the more a market gets disconnected from what's going on in the world, this delta, folks, this gap is painful. Right now, if you just do some caveman-ish math, we filled about half the gap from last week or the past couple days. Look at that. Gap down. We are literally officially today, folks, at half the gap. Whoop, it's right there. We're at it. This is why we're not breaking higher through this thing. That's why you can tell this isn't all clear. Simple. This, ladies and gentlemen, is a classic short squeeze. Shorts run out. They buy their stock back, and then they sit on their hands and go, now I'm really pissed. Now I'm going to pound this. You wouldn't believe I'm going to pound this thing into the dirt. Classic short squeeze, folks. But we'll see what Jerome has to say. As he just, here's a bigger punch bowl. You guys didn't like the other punch bowl? I'm giving you more. My God, I can't believe this. This man, he should have been raising rates when he was cutting them. I could care less what Donald Trump has to say. Donald Trump, the same. You see who was it? The SIBO yesterday. You see our deficit? My God, man, we are spending like a drunken sailor, and I know a little bit about a drunken sailor. Sick of Republicans claiming that they're deficit hawks, man. It's a disgusting spending of money. Well, where do we cut? How about, I can't even stand the word entitlements. You are entitled to nothing. Actually, I'm wrong. You're entitled to, you ready? Life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Entitlements? Just the word makes my skin crawl. You're not entitled to shit, especially healthcare. Figure it out on your own. Then here comes Nancy. Democrats to offer $760 billion infrastructural plan with a big climate theme. Did everybody see CSX earnings? Ooh, ugly sales decline. And the first EPS decline of this cycle. So, Wiz, why are you selling a bear call spread into this? Ladies and gentlemen, their earnings were awful. Why are they popping today? I just told you. Nancy is throwing a we can walk and chew gum at the same time. This is a shrill. You can't stand the woman. Physically just makes me ill. As a politician, she is a Jedi master. So all the 31-ish Democrats that were elected in Trump districts or Trump states, hey, here's another bone. We tried to do infrastructure. Do you think Donald Trump's going to do an infrastructure bill with Nancy Pelosi right now? You have to be nuts. There's no way on God's green earth. And he won't do it just for a shrill political victory, because guess what happened? What did Nancy put all over it? Climate change stuff. Donald J. Trump has said what? Climate change is a hoax. No, not that it's a hoax. He's like, the climate's been changing since the earth cooled, folks. And he's right. Of course the climate's changing. We are a tick on this earth. This earth could sneeze and we're gone tomorrow. Look at the freaking dinosaurs, man. So this is comical. Yeah, I saw that, Richard. She was noticeably absent from the signing ceremony today. Now, the whole John Bolton thing. I think John Bolton's a scumbag. I've met John Bolton before. John Kelly is a good dude. He was a great Marine. His son was killed. Second lieutenant, first lieutenant Marine. He lost a son. I think he's a great American. But I want John Bolton to testify. I absolutely want him to testify, because that means I now call Joe Biden, I now call Hunter Biden, and I now call Barack Obama, Hillary Clinton. It's go time. The reason I'm rambling about impeachment, folks, is because the calling of here comes Mitt Romney and Murkowski and Collins of Maine, Manny, Moe, and Jack. I really wish they just become Democrats and make it formal. But we got Joe Manchin of West Virginia going, Dianne Feinstein yesterday said, we're 9 months away from an election. What are we doing? Both sounded a little, we got more Democrats looking at acquittal in the Senate than we do Republicans. The reason I'm rambling about this, folks, is if in the next week or two, the market gets we get a little Mitt Romney-ish, and if Bolton does come in and try and give a smoking gun, we already know what the president did, and what he did was right. You're the chief law enforcement officer of this country. Sounds like the former president broke the law. Hell, he's on tape doing a quid pro quo. Yeah, can you look into this shit? Can you get my kids a gas director job at a corrupt company? Of course you should look into what happened. And of course you should, if country is very corrupt, go, hey man, before we give you this cash, we want to know it's good. We've withheld, and here's what's funny, the whole withholding of aid, Barack Hussein Obama, when Ukraine asked for lethal aid, sent them blankets and MREs, and he sent them on trucks and unmarked airplanes because he didn't want to infuriate Putin more. What did Trump do? He gave them lethal aid. You know what a Javelin anti-tank missile is? So not only did aid flow, it was lethal. It's insane. So the John Bolton thing, if John Bolton comes in and says the president did say that, I stipulate that. Of course he did, and I'm glad he did. But if you are going to have witnesses, you're going to see Hunter Biden and Joe Biden. Hunter Biden's going to take the fifth, and it'll be a spectacle. Joe Biden, this is going to be, it's going to be insane, folks. She did, Ralph. I saw that because obviously all the liberal Democrats went crazy because you can't, we all hate Trump and everything like that. But her statement stands, right? Her statement stands in that we are 9 months away from an election. Why are we doing this? So she had a moment of clarity, and then it passed. James, yeah, I didn't cover that, but yesterday a Harvard doctor was arrested. He was arrested for working with a former lieutenant in the People's Liberation Army and another dude to smuggle 21 viruses out of this country. I love when I report shit and people do the old tinfoil hat thing on me, and then 2 weeks, a week later, a year later, turns out to be true. I'm telling you that the coronavirus was stolen from Canada by 2 Chinese nationals. Period. They were taking it and they were going to weaponize it. China doesn't have to have a nuclear attack or hypersonic missiles or an aircraft carrier to kill Americans. This will be the next attack, ladies and gentlemen. It's going to be biological. It is not going to be dudes flying airliners. It's going to be this, and it's going to be bad. All right. Last week, man, epic. I'm putting that down with like 3 or 4 of my career calls. There it is. Time to go to cash. Get long vol and S&P 500 puts. The next day, we all know what happened. So epic week, insane, right? I've pared back a lot of my positions on Monday, and as I said yesterday, I would wait to today to get short again. I'd wait for what's his name, Pal here. The Apple puts I'd get on at whatever price. I summarized the Apple call for you. You don't have to waste time doing it. It was comical. I was laughing. I'm like, oh my God, this is the most inverted conference call I've ever seen. I don't care what you did 3 months ago, dude. Talk to me about the future. Nope. It was these numbers were that, this number was this is fantastic, that was epic. I'm like, I don't care. Was epic. Let's deal with is. How many of your 10-year-old boys and girls are building iPhones today over in that country? Ladies and gentlemen, closing down one of those factories for a day impacts revenue. Oh, awesome, Tamara. Yeah, there are a lot of people having an epic month. Very happy with that, and we nailed it. It was another one of those days of me going, I don't understand what's going on here. And this AR portfolio is still doing great month to date, even with the EWZ ass kicking I took 2 weeks ago. We're still up over 10 grand in this portfolio. Boeing. Let's go to Boeing. Awful Boeing. It couldn't have been a worse. I don't know how Boeing's earnings could have been worse. What was it, 600 million, billion, whatever the hell. I've never seen anything as bad as Boeing's earnings. And then the whole, we're not going to market our way out of this because, one of the reporters was like, are you going to change the name of the MAX? Which is, it's a funny question because I'm like, it's the same freaking airplane, folks. I mean, but you guys know as well as I do, and Karen can attest to this, and a couple of the other airline folks in the room. There are people that get on airplanes and start yelling in the cockpit, and what type of plane is this, and blah blah. That's going to happen once this thing gets flying again. You guys know how I feel about the MAX. 4 people deserve to be dead right now, kind of like the Kobe crash. 1 dude deserves to be dead, and I say that as an aviator. I don't, the loss of a human life, reduces me because I'm part of the humankind. But aviation is a self-cleaning oven. Everybody see I posted on the TGO Facebook page the Ring doorbell video. You can't see anything. It's the audio of the Kobe helicopter. I love stupid people. I heard it was mechanical. I heard this. I'm like, I watched the ATC tapes. I've flown in the Marine layer out there for 3 years. It was CFIT, controlled flight into terrain. The pilot was trying to scoot under the scud. The debris field was lateral. The dude was moving forward. Helicopters, when they stop flying, they go straight down, and the debris pattern is circular. Awful loss of situational awareness. Dude, idiot. That airplane doesn't have terrain avoidance. It wasn't super qualified for IFR. Anyway, I'm not going to dance on the guy's grave, but unforgiving aviation. But the MAX was the same way. It's a software fix and run the dudes through the simulator. Get the airplanes flying. Aviation hasn't changed, folks. Bernoulli's over the wing, pull back on the stick, houses get smaller, push forward on the stick, houses get bigger. That's it. It's insane what automation is doing to us, folks. It's making us lazy. It's making us stupid. The few brief airline career I had, I remember going to fly the airplane a couple times, and all civilian pilot type of dudes would look at me like, what are you doing? Put the autopilot on. I'm like, I'm flying the airplane. Airline pilots today, they hit a speed on takeoff, they rotate, put the gear up, and they immediately pick the right hand or left hand up and engage the autopilot. They dial in an altitude and a heading, and they sit there and they watch. At altitude, they pull up the Wall Street Journal. They're sitting here. There are Cat 3 certified airliners that can land in zero visibility, zero ceiling. Completely can't see the runway at all. The airplane will land itself. Hell, they put sensors in the taxiways now where it'll taxi itself. Guess what happens to your flying skills? And guess what's going to happen when all that shit breaks down and they need a pilot? There ain't going to be one. So anyway, why am I rambling about this too? Because as I said, 320 is this instant 300 is this, it ain't going below this. Last week, they did the 10 billion or the 9 billion, no, 10 billion cash infusion from a bunch of large banks. So there's a floor underneath Boeing. But I got to wonder here, folks, same thing. You know, who wants to fly? I've read a report on an air trade website that said some of these Chinese routes might never come back, and they certainly aren't going to turn them on in the blink of an eye. This impacts everybody. Guess who this also impacts, man? Airline pilots, flight attendants. Hey, man, I bid the China line. I fly 2 trips a month and I print money. Okay, now I'm canceled. Now I'm sure in the union contract it says what? You know, you're guaranteed and you'll still get paid, but airlines aren't charities, folks. And at the end of the day, this is going to impact them. I had a buddy at American saying that up at corporate, they're already talking, they might need to furlough some people. Air traffic to China is huge. My FedEx captain buddy, who I got hired 27 years ago, when I got commissioned in the Navy, he started at FedEx. He's like, dude, I thank God for pay guarantee. They dropped all my China flying. Folks, if packages aren't flying, commerce is not moving. I just don't get it. So this might be another potential bearish. Look at the ledge here. This, remember 340 for a while? We had some nice iron condors until one up. Iron condors are great until when? They're not. So that was a one loss, but we printed money on Boeing here. I would be looking to do the same thing with Boeing. I like this, was it 335-ish? What's it? 330, 335? Yeah, and this is thin. Look at this thin trading. This is tentative. This is hesitation trading in these things. Big swings and narrow breadth. Big swing, just narrow trading range. I would also be looking to get bearish on Boeing. And if I'm wrong and this thing just stabilizes and everybody's fine, then we put on a bull put spread. Okay, but let's cover. I talked CSX briefly. I would absolutely sell this bear call spread. Why am I doing this? 80 and a half out inside of them. The regular February expiration. CSX. So algos trade this. right? I have buddies who have hedge funds who they're on the beach. The software reads stuff and fires trades. Remember, folks, before computers, we did this stuff. You wanted to get the information as fast as possible, read it, and then trade. Now that's done. Why do you think when there's a Fed announcement, things move immediately? And then an hour later, there's an article written in the Wall Street Journal that says they removed the word patient and put in something else. It's like, why are you focusing on one word? Well, you know why we're focusing on one word is because that's what the boxes do. Okay, so CSX is up today, folks, on Nancy talking about the I word. It's an election year. We're 9 months away from an election. The 31 Trumpish Democrat folks are going to have to point to something that they did. Well, we put an infrastructure bill forward. Well, if I was your Republican opponent in that district, I'd be like, do you know what happened with infrastructure? Nancy and Chuck went to the White House. They asked for whatever it was, $1 trillion, and they came out. They looked like they saw a ghost. She sees a lot of ghosts after her 5 Jameson breakfast, a lot of pink elephants. And they came out. They're like, well, the president doubled it to $2 trillion. This is Trump, folks. Concrete unions, rebar, concrete, roads, runways. So CSX is popping on this. It ain't popping on that. This is Q4 was bad. This, ladies and gentlemen, is exhibit number 952 of why Wiz doesn't trade earnings. I knew CSX was going to have shitty earnings. They're up 2.6%. So, Ralph, I said get out of those 8 months ago. I absolutely would. But, folks, so last week, ladies and gentlemen, when I said this, that meant everything, Amazon included. The only thing I've been in lately is S&P 500 and VIX, except some of the XLYs and CSXs. I would not be in anything long right now. Nothing. I can, and so I wanted to give you a decision tree today. If you're sitting, because you should not be shadow trading me. Do not trade everything that I trade. Thankfully, 28% of or 72% of the time I'm right. 28% of the time I'm wrong. You need to sit here and go. So Ralph, if you're sitting here going, dude, this is a blip. This is, CSX just kind of had a bad quarter. The economy's doing well. Everything's doing great. The economy's doing well. I'm going to stay in it. Then stay in it. All I'm saying is I think we're going to have a Jan, Feb, one of these. We were going to do this anyway, folks. Now we got a reason to. I love Amazon. I actually like CSX. The reason we're going to get back into CSX is what? Because after the election, Nancy and Donald it's going to suck, folks. When the guy gets reelected, if they do 4 years of investigations to try and do this shit again, I've already talked to my wife. I might be doing these from the Cayman. I'm a guy who served my country for 15 years, buried about 13 dudes and the first female Navy Tomcat pilot. I'd leave if that's what 4 years is going to look like in this country. I have no problems. You can become a Spanish citizen if you open a business worth at least 500 grand or buy a primary home. I'm not shitting you, folks. If he wins and it's going to be 4 years of this, we can't. That's a little side ramble, but what I'm saying is, when he wins and they actually do go, you know what? Let's bury the hatchet. Let's do infrastructure. CSX is going to rip. Okay, so I like stuff for long. Remember, there's a difference. Right now, folks, I am short-term, furiously bearish. Exactly, Graham. That's a good whiz quote right there. Ken, that's a great point. That's an awesome point. Ken gets a gold star. If the Republicans win the House back, it's off to the freaking races. I will plug in the afterburners and buy everything with both hands. It will be 2016 all over again. Period. So great catch, Ken. Yeah, I mean that's in my decision tree right now. Right? I love it. It's that is perfect. But scroll up and everybody see what Graham had to say. Transports, and this is an old Wizism and Wall Streetism. Transports and financials tend to lead us in and out of bad in the market. It makes sense. Just think about it. Dow theory, right? If people ain't borrowing, if banks ain't lending, things suck. If things ain't being transported, railroad traffic's down, FedEx traffic's down. Please tell me you remember what happened 2 months ago. Does everybody remember Fred Smith on the FedEx earnings call saying, holy crap, things are awful? Nobody listened to him except me and us. Yep. Steve, the BDI has imploded lately. Anybody I track it. It's one of the 50 instruments in my cockpit. The Baltic Dry Index, folks. Okay. So, very long, rambling answer to your short question, Ralph. CSX will come back. Remember, Ralph, if you can stay in CSX, get bearish on it, or get bullish on it, or get neutral and iron conduit. You can stay in the name. When I got out of it, whenever it was, I got out of it because I felt that I could deploy that capital in other places more efficiently. But you can stay in CSX and keep trading it. Right? I remember a lot of my coaching clients. I'm like, I'm getting out of JP Morgan because I'm going to go put it over in X, Y, and Z and do a lot better with it. A lot of people stayed in JP Morgan, and when it was $80 and it was a $140 stock up until recently. So you can stay in it, but you just got to don't sit on it. Don't just sit there with it. That's the problem. Okay, so let me do what they do in Congress. Let me revise and extend my remarks. My remarks would be: you can stay in it. Just you have to accept. You have to give the vertical head nod that it can be going down. If not for Nancy playing politics today and throwing a purely Green New Deal infrastructure bill towards the president or the Senate, it's dead on arrival in the Senate, folks. I mean, I haven't seen any. Lindsey Graham's going to laugh at it, but we're all worried about impeachment right now. There's no way in hell this thing. It's all AOC crap. Yeah, Graham. Yep, the market's covered by a copper roof. So there's a lot of indicators right now, folks, of badness out there, and that's not even including the coronavirus. So step one: sit in cash. Don't do anything. Grab popcorn and watch. Literally, this is an incredible market to be observing right now. If you have a question mark on the right side of that chart, then you're not doing anything. I would close CSX. Okay. So you can stay in positions and continue to trade them. But me, I'm more of a cash guy. Yeah, and here's the other issue with to Ralph's point. If you want to stay in something, remember if it's going down and you have a big synthetic long on it, long call diagonal or synthetic stock, that might impact your margin. I don't like talking about this often because I can't give you all investment advice. But if the stock's going down and all of a sudden your synthetic or long call diagonal is getting kicked in the teeth, Moose and Rocco from Anthony's brokerage might be giving you a call like, hey, you need to plus up some of them funds in that account. That's why I get out of stuff, folks. When I'm I'm not half pregnant with the synthetic. So, when CSX got a little wobbly to me, I'm like, done, because I don't need a margin call. I want to take that capital and deploy it somewhere else. So always remember that. Even though I believe it's going to come back, I have no problems with CSX over the long term. If this is a short term, or it's a long term, man. I mean, Trump's been doing a great job of giving the Heisman to a potential recession. Hell, Steve Mnuchin last week, this got lost in the impeachment and everything else news, said what? And Larry Kudlow, we're working on round 2 of tax cuts. So not only is Jerome Powell, you know, kissing us on the forehead and putting a Band-Aid on our boo-boo, Donald Trump is going to give us some Jolt Cola before we go back outside and go play. He wants to juice this market even more. So if the decline and look at today, Ralph, I mean, here's a great example. The earnings were simply awful and the stock's up 2.5%. I'd use this opportunity to get out of it. Okay, it's a nice stable stock, but ladies and gentlemen, everything's a nice stable stock until when? Something like that happens. Thank God. I mean, it's finally back up to where it was before it went down to the 60s. This was painful if you were in it, right? So, guys, the trades are on the page. Here's the link. CSX and Apple are on this page. Who asked that? John. Great question. When I buy puts on, that's an awesome question. I'm very happy for that because I was going to cover it and I have failed up until this point. You guys know I rarely buy calls or puts, just a straight one of those. I don't like being half pregnant in a trade. I'm either all in or all out. The semi half pregnant is this. Apple can remain irrational longer than I can stay solvent. To me, this move today is irrational. I don't care how they did last quarter. I care about what they're doing this quarter. And people are dropping dead that work in their factories. That can't be bullish. So I'm not going to use the word half pregnant with this. I'm going to say I believe that the news is going to catch up to Apple. So I'm going to buy some puts. So that means I'm not really, really, really bearish on Apple. It means I am bearish. There wasn't even a really in there, was there? I'm bearish on Apple. If I'm really bearish on Apple, I would sell a bear call spread. And if you've been here for a while, you can already fill in the blank of this sentence. If I'm really, really, really bearish on Apple, I'm selling a bear call spread to finance buying those puts, either with a burner trade or a double vertical. So simply, yeah, exactly, Graham. It's hard to sell phones when, first of all, they're not being built, and the whole drive-by answer of we have backup supply chains. Yeah, what are the next question? Okay, backup supply chains. So let me get this straight. You're telling me that there's going to be no impact to your revenue going forward if you shut down all these Chinese factories or they haven't worked in a month, and you're just going to turn the key on some other warehouse somewhere else and it's going to be seamless? It's a lie. So if I really, really, really feel something, I'm doing bear call spreads, I'm doing burner trades, I'm doing double verticals. If I feel something, I'll buy some calls or some puts. Last week was a perfect example. I told you right there, I said, I feel I need to get in cash, get long volatility, and buy some puts. Implosion. About 50 grand across the portfolios in profit. Haven't seen that in a long time. So, me buying Apple puts is going, I just think that humans are going to wake up to this. This is an algorithmic. You guys know, almost as long as I've been trading this one, he's about 22 years. 22 years he's been an Apple market maker. I talked to him earlier. That's another reason I'm buying puts. He's like, oh yeah. He's like, this is insanity in Apple right now. And he completely agreed with my analysis of it. He's like, yeah. He's like, that was the first conference call I've ever heard in Apple's history where they ignored the future more or less, or they gave it a drive-by. It was 95. He agreed. He's like, dude, 95%. Here, check us out. Look how awesome we were, and very little about the future. I'm telling you guys, you know, I've been in boardrooms and done strategic planning and with all these type of firms. Step 6 in my planning process is what? Contingency planning. I don't sit in a business planning session and go, okay, looking at the next quarter, how are we going to print money and everything's fantastic? If I was the chief strategy officer for Apple, I'm sitting in a room right now with Tim Cook on a whiteboard going, okay, what if this factory doesn't reopen for 3 months and 1,000 people are dead? If they're not doing this, you should definitely buy puts because they're stupid. But I got to tell you, man, I don't know. I don't know people who work at Apple or anything like that. They have to be doing that. And the fact that they didn't get on a call to, but think about it, folks. This is Wall Street. Would you do that? How many times have I been in a Wall Street brief where I've done this and going, wow, this is all the worst case scenario. And a heavy in the room looks at me and says, let's never speak of this again until if it does happen, Wiz, then we'll break the glass in case of emergency and we'll start executing to it. Right? You guys, you're all smart enough people to know that this is how it will work. There's no way Apple was going to get on this conference call and go, holy shit, we're terrified. Excuse me. Because the stock would be down 20% right now. So, Varouge. So, as you guys know, a day is a lifetime in this market. I got to be honest with you, Varouge, 23 days out, it might be too far. Okay. Today is critical. Look at where we are, folks. Gap, half the gap. Why are we stalling out right here, ladies and gentlemen? Because of that. That's your technical, that's your 10 grand technical analysis lecture right there. Implosion, we've got half the implosion back, and now it's decision time. Me? Implosion, half the gap, implosion. 50-day moving average. How does that not happen? United, British Airways resume flights to China. China has a vaccine. Hong Kong opens its port. Folks, Hong Kong closed everything. Rail, sea, and air. There is nothing from mainland. Carrie Lam has gone full batshit crazy. Not batshit crazy. She's gone right. There is nothing leaving China for Hong Kong. So I can be wrong, but again, I'm going to draw this right here on the screen for everybody. Wiz, I have no idea what's going to happen. Then don't do anything. I'm telling you to go to cash. I'm not telling you to go to cash. I would go to cash. If I was listening to an alleged 500-pound head like me, and I'm like, I don't know if that's happening or going to happen, then sit there, man. Don't do a thing. Don't have FOMO either. Because I could be wrong, man. 28% of the time last year, I was wrong 28% of the time. And I'm the first guy to admit that. This can do this and that resume. Absolutely it is a probability, folks. I'm not going to beat a dead horse, but let's just ripple left to right. Are you kidding me? By the way, who the hell has it? Alada Air? I've never even heard of that carrier. Did you see the airplane these people landed in? Kalata Air. I've never heard. I've been in aviation for more than half my life. I don't even know who that is. This airplane, except for the crew quarters up here, has no windows. Could you imagine flying 12 hours in an airliner with no windows? Yeah, no, I know now it's a charter outfit, folks. I flew for FedEx. I flew for the charter outfit. Can somebody tell me why they flew them home? And trust me, you know that American, there's a special office in every airline that's like the pop-up mission. I'm telling you why they did this. Fear of contamination. This ain't a yeah, it can be full of cargo. It's guess what they're doing after all these people left and they're going to the barracks or something like that. They do what? They go on there and they got the Lysol out, man. Losing a cargo jet because would you want to jump on this plane? If that was an American 777, folks, do you know that all the little old ladies in tennis shoes tomorrow would be getting on and going, this wasn't the airplane that flew all the people back from Wuhan, is it? It's exactly right, Dutch. You can go in a cargo plane and do the Lysol. Ain't nobody, they're taking the seats out tomorrow to start carrying cargo again. So never in my lifetime can I recall a virus outbreak where we're sending airplanes to military bases. This is a Hollywood headline, folks. I can see this as a Michael Bay movie. Breaking news: the Air Force has diverted an airliner from a virus-stricken country to a military base in California. They're being kept comfortable. Holy shit! 1,000 folks. This at this point, this is math. This isn't. It all comes down to math, folks. Whether it's astrology or whatever, it's math. Look at, okay, folks. So if you are going to get bullish on me, you're going to tell me that this is going to happen. Here's the reported cases, and this happens. Does anybody in this room believe this? Great. I mean, if you do, buy Apple calls, buy S&P 500 calls, get bullish on everything. You have to defy logic to assume these are the reported cases, and that's going to happen. I reported yesterday that what happened, folks, when there's a Chinese, or no, it was Hong Kong. It was a Hong Kong biotech company that says we actually have a vaccine for this. Oh, that's great. Well, it takes 6 months to test it on animals. Oh, okay. Well, that's okay, I guess. And then it's a year for humans. We're a year away from knowing if it works. What? What did you just say? It's another one of those examples of not being a headline trader, of reading the headline like, oh, geez. Somebody said, where was I yesterday? I was at the gym. They're like, well, no, I saw the news. Somebody's got a vaccine. I'm like, did you read the second sentence? Right? So, again, don't know what's going on. Sit on your hands. That is the expected infections. This is it's insane. Okay, so this is insane to read all of this and to sit here and go, well, Jerome Powell's going to take care of us. It was a good excuse to give my Apple buddy a call, but he's like, dude, yeah, he's like, in the Apple pit and the Apple world, it's insanity. Yeah, exactly, Larry. I would do that. I'd take this number and double it. I mean, this is the math number. But like I told you, my buddy, the White House fellow guy, said, hey, Wiz, when you quarantine 50 million people and it's quarantined around where this thing broke out, you can guarantee that a lot more people are going to get infected. So it's insanity. So I'm wrapping up here with this. Look at this headline: strong earnings reports lift stocks. How can a strong, and obviously CSX is being lifted, horrible earnings on politics? Donald, there's a 0.0% probability that the Senate and or Donald Trump will do this loaded with a bunch of AOC crap. It's the greenhouse gases and Green New Deal. This is a Green New Deal infrastructure bill. And CSX is popping on that? Did you read below the headline? No, they didn't, ladies and gentlemen. Algos don't read below the headline. They read the headline and they start firing ones and zeros, man. This is why you're here. This is why I love doing presentations at other places where, I get on and listen to the dude or the lady in front of me like, well, and these 3 indicators, I'm like, what? Step away from the black box, man. The only trading software you need is between your ears, man. It's your brain. All you need is a brokerage platform and a brain. I've seen this, folks. I've been with the Ukrainian, speaking of China, Chinese dudes and ladies, and here's 5 pepperoni pizzas and a bunch of Mountain Dew bottles. Don't come out of this room until you build a black box system around these rules. We are breaking the rules right now. Nobody's seen this. The last time, I think the World Health Organization is full of a bunch of idiots right now. The last time they did this was the Ebola outbreak. was it 8,000 people killed around the world? We're going on a couple hundred. I get the math with that, but this is it's insanity. So yeah, it is. It's coming out right now, and I'm supposed to be jumping on a conference call. But last time I'm going to say this: go to cash, folks, if you don't think this is going to work. If we get a Jerome Powell sugar cookie right now, the market's going to go up. But guess what? It's going to go down. We are holding right here at half the gap. Okay. Yeah, tell them I'll be on in a couple minutes. Okay. So, Apple puts, I'm doing them. I'm doing a lot of them personally, and I do some for AR. CSX, I think I hate using this term. I think it's a no-brainer. It broke out of this range, this 76 resistance here, right there, pop. I'd sell into that pop. It's CSX had awful earnings. Once humans get involved and start really digging into what's going on, we're going to have these. We're always a day or two early, aren't we? We're not a day or two early. We're right. We're predictive, right? We don't want to. We're proactive here at Top Gun Options. We're not reactive. I don't react to the news. We have to project, right? We at Top Gun Options want to learn how to look at the right side of a chart. That's where you make your money. And the Apple call today, looking at the left side of the chart, was they did a disservice to investors. I get that they're not jumping on a brief going, man, we're terrified about this shit in China. Because guess what? The person on the conference call who goes, we're terrified of what's going on in China, as the stock implodes, they personally are losing money. I've seen that too, folks. I'll leave you with this. I've been in unnamed Wall Street situations where, dude, do not, I'm like, we have the contingency plan. If this leaks that we thought this, our stock's going to go down, Wiz. And I'm buying a boat type of attitude. I'm like, I would think that your stock would go down if you don't do this type of planning. If it got wind that you were caught flat-footed on something, you should be fired. Trust me, it is a very interesting time on Wall Street and how people think. Okay, thanks, Dutch. I appreciate it. So rates are unched. I got to jump on a call, and it's a smart call of a lot of people who we talked through this Fed stuff, and we're obviously going to be talking about other stuff. I will leave you that I would do Boeing-ish. I'm not going to throw a last trade out. We'll talk Boeing tomorrow because I want to see if we get the one more day thing and things start coming down to earth. So here's the Fed decision. So yeah, we'll do the weekly. We'll do the debrief tomorrow. Okay. Yep. I'll see you guys tomorrow morning at 10 a.m. It's going to be interesting. Just keep an eye. Soak all this stuff up like a sponge. I've never been here. You guys have never been here, and it really is kind of a Captain Kirk. We're sailing into the unknown, but at least we're doing it together. I got a lot of ties in the Pentagon, Wall Street, and thankfully the CDC, and all the intel I'm hearing is it's a hell of a lot worse than what we're being told. Hopefully I'm wrong. You guys know that I do say that often. I hope to be wrong on this. I don't want to be right about this. I don't want to die. I don't want my kid. I don't want anybody getting hurt, man. But if people, if this is going to be as bad as what I think it is, I want to make some money during it. Remember, don't do anything now. Do not do anything now. 99.9% of the time, the initial market reaction out of the Fed is wrong. It's algos. Pay no attention to this, guys. Or actually watch what happens. How many times have we seen a Fed announcement and we get either a drop or a pop, and then an hour later it's doing the exact opposite? Watch it, okay? So this is reading going on, folks. This isn't people, folks. Even CNBC, I've been to CNBC, folks. I've bought commercials on. I've been to their headquarters. They have hedge fund type of software that reads this stuff. Okay, so just ignore it and watch what's going on. I don't think we close where we are. So, all right, guys, have a great rest of your day. Happy hunting. Make sure you hedge, and I'll get the replay posted shortly. God bless. We'll see you tomorrow.